The massive space station hung in the darkness like a metal city among the stars. Hyunwoo Kim pressed his face against the small window of the shuttle and stared at it. After 3 months of travel from Earth, he was finally here. The Galactic Council's main station was bigger than anything humans had ever built. "First time seeing it up close?" asked Captain So-min Park, floating beside him in the zero gravity. "Yes," Hyunwoo said quietly. "It's beautiful and terrifying at the same time." So-min nodded. She had been thinking the same thing. The station was home to over 50 different alien species. Each one had their own section, their own ships, their own way of life. And now humans wanted to join them. Hyunwoo straightened his formal diplomatic uniform. He was Earth's first ambassador to the galaxy. The weight of that responsibility felt heavier than the thick briefcase chained to his wrist. Inside that case were documents that could change humanity's future forever. Earth's formal request to join the Galactic Council, treaties of friendship, samples of human art and music, even some of their best scientific discoveries. "Remember," So-min said, "we're here as friends. We want to show them that humans can be trusted." "I know," Hyunwoo replied. 3 years of preparation. I think I can recite every speech in my sleep." The shuttle docked with a soft thump. Through the airlock came their escort, a tall blue-skinned alien with 4 arms. It spoke through a translation device that made its words sound flat and mechanical. "Welcome, human delegation. I am Guide Nexal. You will follow designated paths only. No deviation permitted." Hyunwoo smiled warmly. "Thank you for welcoming us. We're honored to be here." The alien's expression didn't change. It simply turned and began walking down a long corridor. The walls were covered in symbols from dozens of different languages. Hyunwoo tried to memorize as many as he could. Everything here was new data about galactic civilization. Their quarters were simple but clean. 3 rooms connected by a common area. Hyunwoo's diplomatic team included himself, Captain So-min, Communications Officer Min-ho Ryu, and Tactical Officer Jae-sung Lee. They had been chosen carefully. Each one represented the best of humanity. "The formal presentation is tomorrow," Hyunwoo told his team. "Tonight we rest and prepare. Remember, everything we do reflects on Earth." Min-ho unpacked the communication equipment. "I'll maintain contact with Earth every 6 hours. Admiral Dong-hyun wants regular updates. And I'll keep our security systems active," Jae-sung added. "Just in case." So-min looked at him sharply. "We're here as diplomats, not soldiers." "Diplomats who want to go home alive," Jae-sung replied quietly. That night, Hyunwoo couldn't sleep. He walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth. His wife Yoon-suk was probably watching these same stars, wondering if he was safe. His daughter Haewon would be starting school soon. He was doing this for them, for all the children of Earth who deserved a future among the stars. The next morning, Guide Nexal came to escort them to the council chamber. The room was enormous, with seats arranged in a complex pattern that Hyunwoo didn't understand. Representatives from 53 species sat in groups, their different body shapes and sizes making the chamber look like something from a dream. At the center sat Chancellor Vorth, leader of the Kellian species. He was humanoid but much larger, with skin that looked like gray stone and eyes that seemed to glow from within. When he spoke, his voice filled the entire chamber. "The humans request to join our council," he announced. "We will hear their words." Hyunwoo walked to the center of the chamber. He had practiced this speech 1,000 times, but his heart still pounded. He placed his briefcase on the speaking platform and opened it carefully. "Honored representatives," he began, "I come before you not as a conqueror or a threat, but as a friend. Humanity has reached the stars not to dominate, but to learn. We offer our knowledge, our culture, and our friendship to this great galactic community." He pulled out a small device and activated it. Music filled the chamber. It was a piece by Earth's greatest composers, arranged specifically for this moment. The melody was beautiful and sad and hopeful all at once. Some of the aliens leaned forward, clearly moved by the sound. "This is what humans create when we are at peace," Hyunwoo said. "Art, music, poetry. We have stories of love and loss that span thousands of years. We have scientific discoveries that could benefit all species." He showed them holographic displays of human achievements, medical breakthroughs that could help alien species, agricultural techniques that could feed more people with less resources, engineering solutions for problems that had troubled the galaxy for centuries. "We do not seek to change your ways," he continued. We seek to add our voice to your symphony, to learn from your wisdom and share our own small contributions. The presentation lasted 2 hours. Hyunwoo answered questions about human culture, technology, and intentions. Some representatives seemed genuinely interested. Others appeared suspicious or bored. When it was over, Chancellor Vorth stood. "We will consider your request. You will wait for our decision." Back in their quarters, the team felt cautiously optimistic. Several alien representatives had approached them afterward with friendly questions. A few had even accepted small gifts of human art. "I think some of them really liked us," Minho said. "The Zephyrians seemed especially interested in our medical technology," Somin added, but Jae-sung looked worried. "Did you see how Chancellor Vorth looked at us? And those Kellyan guards? They were studying our every move." "You're being paranoid," Somin said. "We're diplomats under galactic law. They wouldn't harm envoys." Hyunwoo wasn't so sure. He had noticed the suspicious looks, too. But he had also seen genuine curiosity and interest from many species. Maybe that would be enough. He sent his daily message to Earth that night. "First presentation complete. Mixed reception, but some positive signs. We'll report more as situation develops." What he didn't know was that Chancellor Vorth was already meeting with his closest allies. The decision about humanity had been made before Hyunwoo even arrived. The Kellyans saw humans as a threat that needed to be eliminated before they became too powerful. The beautiful music and friendly words had only convinced them that humans were even more dangerous than they thought. 3 days passed slowly. Hyunwoo and his team waited in their quarters, occasionally meeting with interested alien representatives. The Zephyrians wanted to learn more about human medicine. A species called the Korali asked about Earth's music. Things seemed to be going well. Then everything changed. On the morning of the 4th day, Chancellor Vorth's voice echoed through the station's communication system. All beings were ordered to report to the main assembly hall. Hyunwoo felt his stomach tighten as Guide Nexol came to escort them. The assembly hall was packed. Every seat was filled and more beings stood along the walls. The atmosphere felt different now. Tense. Dangerous. Hyunwoo noticed that Kellyan guards had positioned themselves at every exit. Chancellor Vorth stood at the center platform, his massive form commanding attention. When he spoke, his voice was cold and final. "The Galactic Council has reached a decision regarding the human request," he announced. "After careful consideration of all evidence, we declare the human species to be a Category 5 expansionist threat to galactic stability." Hyunwoo felt the blood drain from his face. A Category 5 designation meant immediate containment. It meant war. "Furthermore," Vorth continued, "all human representatives currently within Council space are to be detained as enemy combatants. Their vessels will be impounded and their crews arrested." The chamber erupted in surprised voices. Some aliens seemed shocked by the decision. Others nodded in approval. Hyunwoo tried to stand and speak, but Kellyan guards were already moving toward them. "This is insane," Captain Somin shouted. "We came here in peace." "We're diplomats." "Diplomats from a hostile species," Vorth replied. "Your presence here was merely reconnaissance for future invasion." "That's completely false," Hyunwoo protested. But the guards were already surrounding them. The first guard to grab Jae-sung made a mistake. The tactical officer had been trained for exactly this situation. His elbow caught the alien in the throat and his hand went for the guard's weapon. "Run!" he shouted to the others. Chaos exploded in the chamber. Jae-sung fought 3 guards while So-min and Min-ho tried to protect Hyunwoo. Energy weapons fired, filling the air with burning light. Several alien representatives dove for cover behind their seats. "The ship!" So-min yelled. "We have to reach the ship!" They fought their way toward the exit, but more guards kept coming. Jae-sung took a blast to the shoulder but kept fighting. He grabbed an alien weapon and provided cover fire as they ran down the corridor. "Leave me," he gasped, blood running down his arm. "Get the ambassador out." "We don't leave anyone behind," So-min said firmly. But Jae-sung was already pushing them forward. "Tell Earth what happened here," he said. "Tell them the Council chose war." The last thing they saw was Jae-sung standing alone in the corridor, firing at a dozen guards while they escaped. His sacrifice bought them precious seconds. They reached their docking bay to find their ship surrounded. Kellyan soldiers had already boarded the UES Harmony. Through the windows they could see their crew being dragged away in chains. "No," So-min whispered. "My people." More guards appeared behind them. This time there was nowhere to run. Energy weapons pointed at them from all directions. Slowly, they raised their hands in surrender. Hyunwoo was separated from his team immediately. They dragged him to a small chamber deep in the station. Chancellor Vorth was waiting for him, along with several other council leaders. "You will be tried for crimes against galactic peace," Vorth announced. "What crimes?" Hyunwoo demanded. "We came here seeking friendship. Aggressive expansion without authorization. Technological development beyond approved limits. Intent to destabilize the galactic order." Vorth's voice was flat, reading from a prepared list. "The trial will begin immediately." The trial was a joke. Hyunwoo was given no lawyer. No time to prepare a defense, no opportunity to present evidence. The council leaders had already decided his fate. They showed recordings of human space expansion over the past century, claiming it proved aggressive intent. They listed human technological achievements as evidence of dangerous capability. "Look at their warships," one council member said, showing images of Earth's defense fleet. "These are not the vessels of a peaceful species." "Those ships protect our trade routes and colonies," Hyunwoo protested. "Every species has the right to defend itself." "Not when that defense threatens others," Vorth replied. The trial lasted 4 hours. At the end, the verdict was already written. Guilty on all charges. Sentence: immediate execution to be broadcast across the galaxy as a warning to other expansionist species. That night, alone in his cell, Hyunwoo managed to record one final message using his hidden communication device. "To President Choi and the people of Earth," he said quietly, "the Council has chosen to see us as enemies. They plan to execute me tomorrow as a warning to humanity. I want you to know that I forgave them for this, but I also want you to remember that Earth protects its children. Do what you must to keep our people safe." He deleted all other data from the device, leaving only that message to be transmitted automatically. The execution was held in the main assembly hall. Representatives from across the galaxy watched as Hyunwoo was brought to the center platform. His hands were bound, but he walked with dignity. Chancellor Vorth read the charges one final time. Then he asked if the condemned had any last words. Hyunwoo looked around the chamber at all the alien faces. Some looked satisfied. Others seemed troubled by what was happening. A few appeared genuinely sad. "I came here believing that different species could live together in peace," he said. "I still believe that. I forgive those who condemned me, for they act from fear, not wisdom. But I want the galaxy to know this. Earth remembers its children. And Earth never forgets." The energy beam was quick and clean. Ambassador Hyunwoo Kim died instantly, his body falling to the chamber floor. The galaxy's first human diplomat was gone, but his final message was already racing through space toward Earth, carried by automated systems the Council didn't even know existed. In 72 hours it would reach Admiral Donghyun's desk, and Earth would remember. The message reached Earth Defense Command at 0347 hours, Seoul Standard Time. Admiral Donghyun Yoon was awakened by his aide's urgent call. He watched Hyunwoo's final transmission 3 times before calling President Yoon-ji Choi. "Ma'am, we have a priority alpha situation. The Galactic Council has executed Ambassador Kim." The silence on the line lasted 10 seconds. When President Choi spoke, her voice was perfectly calm. "Show me everything." Within 2 hours, the full government was assembled in the crisis chamber beneath the Capitol. President Choi sat at the head of the table, her face pale but composed. Around her sat the leaders of humanity's greatest nations, along with the military commanders who had spent decades preparing for this exact scenario. "They killed our ambassador," she said simply. "A man who went to them in peace carrying gifts and friendship. They murdered him and broadcast it to the galaxy as entertainment." Admiral Dong-hyun placed a datapad in front of her. "We have confirmation from our monitoring stations. The execution was real. They're also holding our surviving crew members as prisoners." "How many dead?" President Choi asked. 15 confirmed, including Tactical Officer Jae-sung Lee. Captain So-min Park and Communications Officer Min-ho Ryu are among the prisoners. General Myung-hoon Kang leaned forward. "Ma'am, we've been planning for this possibility since first contact protocols were established. Protocol Omega is ready for activation." President Choi looked around the table. These were good people, leaders who had worked for decades to build a peaceful human civilization among the stars. Now they were being forced to become something else. "The galaxy has made its choice," she said finally. They see us as a threat that must be destroyed. Very well. Let's show them what a real threat looks like. She placed her hand on the authentication scanner. I hereby activate Protocol Omega. As of this moment, humanity is at war with the Galactic Council. The room erupted in controlled activity. Secure communications went out to every human world, every colony, every ship in space. The message was simple: come home. Prepare for war. Dr. Haiwan Shin was called in from the xenobiology department. For 3 years, she had been studying every scrap of information about Council species. Medical data, psychological profiles, cultural weaknesses. It had all been disguised as friendly scientific exchange. What do we know about their military capabilities? President Choi asked her. They're powerful but complacent, Dr. Shin replied, pulling up holographic displays. The Council has maintained peace for over 2,000 years. Their military exists mainly for show and minor policing actions. They've never fought a real war, and their weaknesses? Many. The Kellians are strong but slow to adapt. The Zephyrians are brilliant but physically fragile. Most Council species have never seen total warfare. They fight by rules that we don't have to follow. Admiral Dong Hyun was already in contact with the secret shipyards. For 50 years, humanity had been building a hidden fleet. Not the pretty exploration vessels that the galaxy knew about, but real warships designed for one purpose: survival. Ghost Fleet status report, he demanded. Commander Taemin Jung appeared on the main screen, transmitting from a hidden base in the Kuiper Belt. Sir, we have 237 vessels ready for immediate deployment. Stealth destroyers, assault carriers, and 12 dreadnought-class ships that the Council has never seen. The hidden fleet was humanity's greatest secret. While they had shown the galaxy peaceful exploration ships, they had also been building weapons that used technology the Council didn't even know existed. Faster engines, stronger weapons, and most importantly, tactics that assumed their enemies would outnumber them 100 to 1. Begin Phase 1 deployment, Admiral Dong Hyun ordered. I want reconnaissance teams at every Council world within 200 light-years of Earth. Map their defenses, locate their command centers, and identify critical infrastructure. President Choi activated the global communication system. Her speech would be heard on every human world, every space station, every ship in the fleet. Citizens of Earth and her colonies, she began. Today we learned that the galaxy views humanity as a threat to be eliminated. Ambassador Hyunwoo Kim, a good man who carried our hopes for peace, has been murdered by those we sought to befriend. Her voice remained steady, but her words carried the weight of absolute conviction. We offered them our art, our music, our knowledge, and our friendship. They responded with treachery and murder. They have chosen to see us as monsters. Very well. Let us show them what monsters can do. The transformation began immediately. Mining colonies in the asteroid belt shifted from extracting rare metals to manufacturing weapons. Research stations started producing military equipment instead of scientific instruments. Civilian transport ships received emergency modifications, turning them into supply vessels for the coming war. On Mars, the great industrial complexes that had been building terraforming equipment began producing something else entirely: weapons that could crack planets, devices that could turn stars into bombs. Humanity had always been good at killing. Now they would become perfect at it. Commander Taemin's reconnaissance forces were already moving. Using stealth technology that the Council had never encountered, human ships began appearing in Council space like ghosts. They watched. They recorded. They mapped every weakness in the galaxy's defenses. The first reports came back within days. The Council's military was spread thin across thousands of worlds. Their ships were large and impressive, but slow and predictable. Most importantly, they had never fought an enemy that didn't follow their rules of warfare. They expect formal challenges and organized battles, Taemin reported. They've never dealt with hit-and-run tactics or total warfare. Meanwhile, Minho Ryu was still alive in the Council prison. Using hidden communication protocols that the aliens couldn't detect, he began sending intelligence back to Earth. Guard rotations, security weaknesses, the layout of the Council station. The prisoners are being held in Section 7. His encrypted message reported. Security is light. They don't think we're a real threat. General Myung-hoon smiled grimly as he read the report. They're about to learn how wrong they are. The hidden human fleets were moving into position. Ghost ships armed with weapons the galaxy had never seen. Crews trained for a kind of warfare that civilized species considered barbaric. President Choi looked out at the stars one final time before the war began. They wanted to judge us as monsters, she whispered. Let's see how they like the verdict. Earth was ready. The galaxy was not. The first shots of the war came without warning. At exactly 0600 hours, human stealth ships materialized around 17 different Council monitoring stations scattered across the outer rim. The aliens manning these posts had been watching human space for months, looking for signs of aggressive expansion. They never saw the attacks coming. Commander Taemin Young watched from his flagship as the monitoring station at Kepler 442 exploded in silent fire. His ships had appeared from stealth less than 50 meters from the alien structure. The Council guards barely had time to send a distress signal before they died. Target destroyed, his weapons officer reported. No survivors detected? Good, Taemin replied coldly. Next target. Across 17 star systems, the same scene played out. Human warships appeared like vengeful spirits and destroyed the Council's eyes and ears in minutes. By the end of the first day, the Galactic Council had lost 80% of their intelligence network in human-controlled space. Chancellor Vorth received the news in his private chambers. His aide, a nervous Kellion named Brix, trembled as he delivered the report. 17 stations destroyed, sir. Over 3,000 personnel killed. We have no idea how they did it. Vorth's stone-like face showed no emotion, but his glowing eyes burned brighter. Send Admiral Krelvon to me immediately. Admiral Krelvon was the Council's greatest military leader, a veteran of dozens of small conflicts. He commanded the largest fleet in the galaxy. When he arrived at Vorth's chambers an hour later, he was confident and dismissive. A minor setback, he declared. These humans got lucky with a surprise attack. I'll take 3 fleets and crush them in a week. They destroyed 17 fortified positions simultaneously, Vorth pointed out. How do you explain that? Primitive cunning, Krelvon replied. They probably sacrificed half their fleet to achieve surprise. I doubt they have many ships left. Vorth was not convinced, but he approved the military response. Take your fleets and end this rebellion. Show the galaxy what happens to species that defy the Council. Admiral Krelvon departed with the largest military force the galaxy had seen in centuries. 3 full battle fleets, over 600 ships total, armed with the finest weapons Council technology could provide. He was certain that the humans would surrender as soon as they saw his armada approaching. He was wrong. The Battle of Proxima Junction began when Krelvon's forces dropped out of faster-than-light travel expecting to find a small human defensive fleet. Instead, they found empty space and a few scattered asteroids. Where are they? Krelvon demanded from his flagship's bridge. His answer came in the form of energy beams that seemed to appear from nowhere. Human ships materialized all around his fleet, their stealth systems dropping simultaneously. But these weren't the small exploration vessels the Council had seen before. These were sleek, deadly warships that moved like hunting cats. Admiral Dong-hyun commanded the human fleet from his flagship, the UES Vengeance. He had spent 30 years preparing for this moment, studying every weakness in Council military doctrine. All ships, execute Pattern 7, he ordered calmly. The human fleet scattered in all directions, moving faster than Council sensors could track. Their weapons fired in coordinated salvos that bypassed standard energy shields and armor plating. Where Council ships were large and heavily armored, human ships were small and impossibly quick. How are they moving so fast? Krelvon's tactical officer screamed. The humans had spent decades developing new engine technology while pretending to use standard galactic designs. Their ships could accelerate and turn in ways that seemed to violate physics. More importantly, their weapons were designed specifically to kill Council vessels. Captain Yuna Oh commanded one of the human assault ships. Her target was Krelvon's flagship, a massive dreadnought that served as the command center for the entire Council fleet. While the main battle raged around them, she led a small squadron directly toward the enemy command ship. Captain, they're concentrating fire on us, her gunner reported. Good, Yuna replied. That means they're not shooting at anyone else. Her ship shook under enemy fire, but she kept coming. The Council dreadnought was huge and powerful, but it was also slow and predictable. Yuna's ship danced around its weapons, getting closer with each pass. When she was finally close enough, she made her choice. All crew to escape pods, she ordered. I'm taking us in. Captain, that's suicide. Her first officer protested. No, Yuna said firmly. That's victory. She sealed the bridge and aimed her ship directly at the Council flagship's command section. The human vessel, moving at tremendous speed, punched through the alien ship's armor like a bullet through paper. The explosion tore the dreadnought in half and killed Admiral Krelvon instantly. Without their commander, the Council fleet fell apart. Human ships pressed their advantage using tactics the aliens had never seen before. They fought in perfect coordination, covering each other's weaknesses and exploiting every enemy mistake. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the Council's great armada was scattered wreckage floating in space. Fewer than 50 ships escaped to carry news of the defeat back to Council space. Admiral Dong Hyun surveyed the battlefield with grim satisfaction. "Signal all ships," he ordered. "Collect survivors and salvage what we can. Then we move to Phase 2. Back on the Council station, Chancellor Vorth received the news of the defeat in stunned silence. An entire battle fleet destroyed by a force 1/3 its size. It was impossible. It was humiliating. It was terrifying. How? He asked his remaining advisors. How did they do this? Nobody had an answer. For the first time in millennia, a Council military force had been completely annihilated. The psychological impact was enormous. Across the galaxy, Council member species began to panic. Emergency sessions were called. Some species demanded immediate peace negotiations. Others called for total mobilization of all Council forces. A few suggested that perhaps they had made a mistake in executing the human ambassador. But Vorth refused to consider surrender. "We will not bow to primitives," he declared. "Double the military budget. Call up all reserves. If these humans want total war, they will have it." On Earth, President Yoon-ji Choi received Admiral Dong Hyun's victory report in the war room. Around her, the military staff celebrated the first major victory. But she remained calm and focused. "Phase 2 begins immediately," she announced. "Target their infrastructure. Show them that we can reach any world, any station, any ship in their territory." The message was clear. Humanity had been forced into this war, but they intended to win it completely. The galaxy would learn what happened when you murdered human ambassadors. The real war was just beginning. Phase 2 of humanity's war plan began 3 days after the Battle of Proxima Junction. This time the targets weren't just military bases. Human forces struck at the heart of galactic civilization itself. Dr. Seung-ho Park had spent months studying the Council's infrastructure networks. From his command center on Earth, he coordinated attacks that most species would consider unthinkable. Power stations went dark. Communication networks failed. Food distribution centers stopped working. Transportation hubs became smoking ruins. "The Kellyan homeworld is experiencing complete system failure," reported Commander Taemin from his stealth ship. "Power grid is down across 3 continents. They're losing atmospheric processors in the polar cities." President Yoon-ji Choi monitored the reports with cold satisfaction. "Continue the pressure. Make them understand that every day Ambassador Kim stays dead, their civilization falls apart a little more." The psychological warfare was devastating. Council species had lived in comfort for thousands of years, protected by stable governments and reliable infrastructure. Now their lights went out, their food ran short, and their leaders couldn't protect them. On the Zephyrian homeworld, massive riots broke out when the planetary communication system failed during a critical storm warning. Hundreds died in the chaos. The Zephyrian government sent desperate messages to the Council, begging for peace negotiations. Chancellor Vorth ignored them. He was too proud to admit that executing one human diplomat had brought the galaxy to its knees. Instead, he ordered more military production and called for volunteers from every Council species. But his coalition was cracking. The Coralli, who had shown interest in human music, were the first to break. Their ambassador arrived at a neutral space station with a white flag, seeking secret negotiations with humanity. "We had nothing to do with your ambassador's death," the Coralli representative pleaded to Commander Taemin. "Please spare our worlds. We withdraw from the Council." Taemin's response was swift and merciless. "You sat in that chamber and watched an innocent man die. You did nothing. Your silence was complicity." The Coralli homeworld's orbital defense platforms were destroyed that same day. General Myung-hoon's forces had captured several Council shipyards by now. Human engineers, led by brilliant scientist Bo-young Lim, began studying alien technology. What they found surprised them. "Their tech is actually inferior to ours in most ways," Bo-young reported to President Choi. "They've been coasting on old designs for centuries. No innovation, no improvement. They've grown lazy. Can we use it against them? Already doing it. We're reverse engineering their shield frequencies and armor compositions. Our next wave of attacks will be even more effective. The war reached its turning point when humanity demonstrated their ultimate capability. In a distant star system with no inhabited planets, human scientists had been conducting a secret experiment for weeks. Admiral Dong Hyun's voice carried across all galactic communication channels, speaking in perfect translation to every council species simultaneously. Leaders of the Galactic Council, he began. You have seen what happens when you attack our ships and stations. You have seen what happens when you threaten our colonies. Now we will show you what happens when you murder our ambassadors. The star in the uninhabited system began to flicker. Solar flares erupted from its surface in patterns that defied natural physics. Then, with a brilliant flash that could be seen from neighboring systems, the star went nova. The explosion was visible across half the galaxy. Every astronomer, every scientist, every military leader watched in horror as humanity demonstrated they could kill stars. The message that followed was brief and terrifying. We can do this to any star in council space. You have 72 hours to surrender unconditionally, or we begin with the Kellyan Sun. Chancellor Vorth received the ultimatum in his private chambers. Around him, his advisors were in full panic. Some were already fleeing the station. Others begged him to surrender. They're bluffing, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. No species has that kind of power. Sir, his chief scientist reported, our analysis of the nova shows clear signs of artificial manipulation. They turned an entire star into a weapon. For the first time since the war began, Vorth felt real fear. He had started this conflict to eliminate a perceived threat. Now he faced the reality that humanity was far more dangerous than he had ever imagined. The surrender came 18 hours later, not from Chancellor Vorth, but from the other council leaders who overthrew him in a desperate coup. The message was transmitted from a ship fleeing the council station, signed by 37 different species. To the human government, we surrender unconditionally. We request immediate ceasefire and peace negotiations. Chancellor Vorth and his supporters are being detained for war crimes. Please do not destroy any more stars. President Yoon-ji Choi read the surrender in the war room surrounded by her exhausted staff. The war had lasted only 6 months, but it had changed everything. Do we accept? Admiral Dong Hyun asked. Yes, she replied. But the terms will be harsh. The peace negotiations were held on a neutral space station. The human delegation was led by In-ho Kwon, who had been Hyun-woo's deputy and one of the few survivors of the original diplomatic mission. His first demand was simple: the complete dissolution of the Galactic Council. The council system has proven itself corrupt and genocidal, he stated. It will be replaced by a voluntary confederation where disputes are resolved through mediation, not murder. The alien representatives, desperate to end the war, agreed to everything. War crimes tribunals would be established. Reparations would be paid. The new galactic government would have humans in key leadership positions. Chancellor Vorth and the other architects of Hyun-woo's execution were transported to Earth for trial. They faced human courts, human law, human justice. The trials were fair but thorough. Evidence of their crimes was overwhelming. Vorth was executed exactly 1 year after Ambassador Hyun-woo's death. His last words were a plea for mercy that went unanswered. Justice had been served, but it brought no joy to those who witnessed it. The new Galactic Confederation was founded 6 months later. Its first session was held on Earth, in a building constructed as a memorial to Ambassador Hyun-woo Kim. His words were carved in stone above the entrance. Earth remembers its children. Ambassador Min Seo-hong represented humanity at that first session. She was Hyun-woo's niece, chosen specifically to honor his memory. Her opening speech was broadcast across the galaxy. We gather here not as conquerors and conquered, but as beings who have learned from our mistakes, she said. The human species offers the same thing our murdered ambassador offered: friendship, cooperation, and peace. But we also offer this promise: never again will diplomats be murdered for carrying messages of peace. Never again will any species face extinction for seeking friendship. The memorial plaque bearing Hyun-woo's name was placed at the center of the Confederation chamber, a reminder that while humans could forgive, they would never forget their fallen. In the end, the galaxy had learned a terrible lesson. Humanity had offered their hand in friendship and been answered with treachery. They had responded with such overwhelming force that entire civilizations trembled at the mention of their name. But they had also shown mercy when their enemies surrendered. They had rebuilt what they destroyed and offered genuine partnership to those who sought it. The galaxy was at peace again, but it was a peace built on the understanding that some lines should never be crossed. Some deaths should never be forgotten. Ambassador Hyunwoo Kim had died seeking friendship among the stars. His death had brought about the very unity he had dreamed of, forged in fire and tempered by justice. Earth remembered its children, and the galaxy would never forget.